Mr. Ishan Bhatnagar.
Yes.
Please introduce yourself.
Sir, I'm Ishan Bhatnagar. I was born in Lucknow, brought up in Bhopal, from where I did my high school. I graduated from National Law University, Delhi, having done my law degree, BA LLB honors. I graduated this year and this is my first attempt.
What about your hobbies and all that?
Sir, I have been a karate player in the past and I also like to sing and play the guitar.
Okay. As I can see that you have done graduation in law after
Yes,
your school.
Yes, sir.
So this NLU Delhi has got separate examination or it is part of PAT?
Sir, it has a separate examination called ALET.
Why so? Why it is not part of PAT?
So there are two reasons. The first reason was that at the time of its founding, the university had a slightly different vision as to its students. So it wanted to tweak the exam based on what kind of students the university wanted. And the second was, being a young national law school, funding was always an issue. So having our own exam allows my university to have lots of funds which it can dedicate to research and infrastructure.
Okay, but anyways, your interest is in international arbitration or mediation.
Yes, sir.
And you participated in some competition in Italy. What was that competition?
So this was the INADR International Mediation Competition. It was held in Bologna, Italy this very year. Sorry, last year in March 2023.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
What is the topic?
Sir, so for a mediation competition, one gets a series of problems, mediation problems, and you are allocated a side. So you have to go and resolve that dispute. So for instance, one was a custody issue. The other was the issue of certain goods that had been misplaced during construction. So there were these case studies that we had to solve.
Okay. But most of the mediations fail in India because it is now imperative for all the courts that in matrimonial disputes or commercial disputes, parties are first set for mediation. But most of these fail. What could be the reason for that?
So one thing is, really one reason is in what you said, sir, that it is imperative for the courts, or they will more often than not send them. Mediation is a voluntary process, however, where parties are going in without that kind of predetermination that they want to go for mediation, sometimes they don't cooperate. The second reason is that legal counsel. So there's always an incentive on the part of lawyers to nudge their clients towards going to the courts to litigate their dispute. So the advice that they would also give would be sort of.
So you feel that it's the lawyers because of which mediations are failing, is that?
So both two things: culture of mediation and culture of settlement requires compromise. People are not as keen towards compromise, perhaps. And the second reason is that quality of legal counsel is also in that direction, sir.
So basically, mediation is failing at the same time government established so many tribunals so that the cases don't go to the regular court. But there also, the number of cases are increasing. So I think that system of tribunal as well as mediation, has not brought the desired results.
Sir, I would say that there are challenges certainly in both of these systems, but they are highly necessary given the judicial pendency that we have. And given the fact that the courts have very limited resources to tackle that pendency. So this is very much the future, tribunalization to some extent, ADR for sure. And hopefully we can have a more informed bar. So people of my generation, for instance, if some of us practice, we are very keen on mediation. So we have seen changes in the bar. We're also seeing institutionalized mediation, a mediation act, the government establishing systems so that mediation can be faster, better, people's experience is better, and they come back to the process.
But even in this new arbitration act which has been brought up, what changes have been brought about in this new arbitration and mediation act so that things can move faster?
So the new act has three chief changes. The first change is that it establishes the Mediation Council of India. So now there's an institutionalized mechanism which will allow for mediations to happen. This will mean that mediations are faster, more efficient. The second major change that this brings in is mediation settlements. Earlier, you needed to go to a court to basically, if I had a settlement with someone, I would go to a court to get a consent decree, and that consent decree would have the force of a district court judgment. However, the Mediation Act makes the agreement of mediation itself enforceable as a decree of the court. The third major change that the Mediation Act envisions is it gives certain timelines for mediation and it allows for court annexed mediation.
No, but institutions were already existing. I mean, DIAC was there, as well as FICCI also had part of International Chamber of Commerce. SIAC also had its branches here in India. So institutions were already there, but still it was not working. So bringing one more institution, how much it will help?
So the institutions, so mostly, like you pointed out, so there were arbitration institutions, and then there would also be mediation that would be annexed to the arbitration institution, a dedicated institution for mediation, along with the Mediation Act, will certainly take us forward. So the next thing we can do is endorse the Singapore Convention on Mediation. So that will lead to internationalization of standards as well.
Anyways, what is the difference between seat of arbitration and place of arbitration?
So seat of arbitration is the juridical focus of arbitration. What that means is that it is only the courts at the seat that can overturn the
Arbitration, do you think it's easily enforceable? I mean, if there's international arbitration and some award is given, and supposing an Indian company is awarded the amount of say $5 million against some Nigerian company, then how do I recover it?
So under the Arbitration and Conciliation Act, if it was a Nigerian company, they would come to the high courts in India. I'm not aware of what the system is there in Nigeria, because what we had earlier, if that's the system, it is that you go to the district court. Then even if it's an international arbitration with the best of manner, it boils down to the enforcement mechanism at the district level or the state level, wherever it's happening.
So in the case of if I have to recover money from some Nigerian company, then what do I do? Where do I go?
So Nigeria, if Nigeria is a party to the New York Convention 1950,
it is actually.
Yes, sir. Then Nigeria would be duty bound to actually enforce the award. So you would have to go to the district court at Nigeria where the company is located, either it's registered or where its locus of control is. And then that court would pass an order giving for the enforcement of.
So isn't that too difficult to get an award of $5 million against Nigerian company to be enforced in a district court in Nigeria?
Certainly, sir, certainly.
So is it efficacious? Is it implementable? Is it practical, logical?
Sir, it's difficult to imagine any other alternative, because how else would we take a Nigerian company to account? So internationally, other forms of dispute redressal are not there. And the second reason is, sir, even though ultimately we are going back to the courts, and that's an issue because courts take time. That's the reason you want to go out of the legal system, at least for the. Yes,
recently, the minority status of Aligarh Muslim University is not in focus because of arguments going on in Supreme Court, where constitutional validity of certain articles in the Constitution have been challenged, as well as the Basha judgment. Can you please just elaborate on that? I'm asking you because you're in constitutional law as your the papers.
Yes, sir. So the minority status of Aligarh Muslim University would be governed by Article 30 of the Constitution, which Article 30. So I think it deals with minority education institutions is only.
31, 2, 3. What is that? Anyways, please go ahead. Yes.
So for a minority education institution, the definition of a minority is not there in the constitution. So we take it on a numerical basis. Now, the fundamental issue that's being covered in this case is where the state has recognized this institution and where it's constituted by an act of the legislature, and not really then how do we attribute it to any section, any minority that wants to uphold its cultural and distinct culture and language, and then it creates an institution towards that purpose. So that's the main issue, sir.
The main issue, as given by the government, what exactly Solicitor General said in his argument? What was the issue which he brought in before this?
So I believe this was one of the issues, and the other issue is a degree of. I cannot completely recall his arguments. I remember this being one of the issues, and the other issue being degree of government intervention, even for a minority education institution. And there's judgments on this that does not, the right to administer does not include the right to misadminister or maladminister. So the government can intervene in the administration as well.
Okay, your institute is located in Dwarika, right?
Yes, sir.
And you have the IPR building next to your institute.
Yes,
so
sir.
Have you ever visited that IPR building?
No, sir, but I was a fellow with our IP center, and they, I believe, collaborate with the national IP. Yes, sir. Thank you.
Did you go through that budget today? Any highlights?
Sir, I read the highlights.
What are those?
Yes, sir. So there is increased allocation for lots of schemes, Ayushman Bharat, for instance, and PM Gati Shakti. They're introducing new corridors, economic corridors. The other thing that the budget mentioned was, sir, I can't really. I just saw it.
Money bill.
So a money bill is under the constitution. It has anything that has something to do with the Consolidated Fund of India. If money is being withdrawn or going back into the Consolidated Fund of India, that's
the power of Lok Sabha, Rajya Sabha with regard to money bill.
So the power of the Lok Sabha is that only the Lok Sabha passes the bill. The bill will go to the Rajya Sabha and its recommendations will be taken, but the Rajya Sabha cannot really stop the passing of the money bill.
What is tax avoidance?
So tax avoidance is an instance where companies, mostly corporates or high net worth individuals, will use multiple ways to subvent and not pay as much tax. So something that is very common is shifting the base of operations. So this is done by lots of tech giants, where, for instance, Netflix has is doing. Yes, sir.
Talk of Indian companies.
Certainly, sir. The practice is that the company will operate in India, but it will have been incorporated in Cayman Islands or any one of those tax destinations.
What is transfer pricing?
So I cannot recall.
What is speculation? Speculation income is taxed separately. Income tax and speculation income is there, no?
I am not really aware of that.
You have any idea about the short-term capital gain, long-term capital gain in income tax?
Sir, only a basic idea. So short-term capital gain, like the name suggests, is where we take an asset and it is sold within the short term, and then whatever is the gain and the value.
What is the short term period?
So not sure.
And what is the tax rate?
Again, so all I know is the concept, sir.
Okay, no idea. What is CSR concept?
So corporate social responsibility is the idea that corporates must spend about 2 to 4% of their
2 to 4. What
Yes.
is the minimum?
2%.
2%. So why do you say 2 to 4?
So the minimum is 2, but they're encouraged to spend more.
Do you think that anyone is spending more than 2? I doubt.
Unlikely, sir.
Yes. So which companies are supposed to spend on CSR? All?
So I believe there must be some lower limit as to their turnover, and above that turnover, companies are supposed to spend CSR on social
What is the
initiatives.
difference between warranty and guarantee?
So Warranty is under the Sales of Goods Act. Warranty is basically for electronic appliances, etc. As we use it in general parlance, warranty will typically be concerning the features of the goods. So if there are certain features of the goods, then the buyer can take the seller to court if those features have not been met. If the buyer relied on that. Guarantee, on the other hand, is an assurance as to quality, and guarantee has replacement as one of its. If the good is not
Warranty
conforming,
doesn't have the replacement, you mean to say.
warranty will typically not have replacements.
In Companies Act, they started OPC, one person company.
Yes, sir.
What was the rationale for that?
So, the principle of corporate legal liability, whereby one can create a company and then the debts of the companies are the debts of the company. So, if a person enters into business and wants to infuse it with certain amount of capital and do its dealings via the company, the advantage is that that person can do it without worrying about their lifetime savings going away, because the buyer can only sue the company. They cannot sue the person behind the company. So, it allows for better trade.
Separate entity is there.
Yes, sir.
What is the advance ruling in income tax?
So, not sure, sir.
I'm not sure. The government has come out with the labor law reforms.
Yes, sir.
Any idea about that?
Yes, sir. The government, so at the moment, there are some 200 plus labor laws that are applicable. The government has attempted to streamline those, rationalize to 4, including the Code on Wages, then there's the New Industrial Disputes Act, and then there's 2 more, sir.
Why do we call them as a code?
So, code would mean that it's meant to comprehensively enshrine all the provisions that deal with wages, for instance.
What is social security?
So, social security is a set of benefits, pension, more than that, sickness allowance, stewardess allowance, unemployment allowance, all of these that would go to a
Have you
worker.
heard the word lockout, layoff?
Yes, sir.
What is the difference? Lockout and layoff.
Sir, lockout, to the best of my knowledge, is something that the workers do in that they don't turn up or something.
I don't know. I'm
Yes.
asking you.
Layoff is where the company does not terminates the employment, and under Indian law, there's compensation. There's lots of things that have to happen that takes place.
And what is lockout?
So I cannot recall. I've read it somewhere. It's escaping me.
Sure. Okay.
Hi, Ishan. We are from Bhopal.
Yes, sir.
We have had a bad experience in Bhopal in 84, right?
Yes.
Fuel carbide. What happened to that case?
So this case first went to the district court. Then it was in the Madhya Pradesh High Court, where an interim compensation amount was given for the people. However, that was not enforced. In between, the government of India went to the US Supreme Court to litigate, but the US Supreme Court said that the proper tribunal would be the Supreme Court of India. In front of the Supreme Court of India, the government had passed an act via which the government, as parents patria, or the paternal figure in a way, would litigate on behalf of the people of Bhopal. And a consent decree was ultimately passed because the government of India negotiated an agreement with the Union Carbide, the parent company Dow Chemicals.
What was the compensation awarded? Overall?
Sir, I can't remember. I do remember that the compensation was less than the interim compensation awarded by the Madhya Pradesh High Court.
What was the chemical that had leaked?
Methyl isocyanate.
Methyl isocyanate. What does it do to the body?
So, it causes respiratory distress, it causes vision issues, it also causes kidney problems, problems in the liver, but lots of lung damage.
And those problems can cause generation.
Yes, sir. So, in Bhopal, we have seen that 3-4 generations down the line, owing to the problems caused by the gas, also the toxic waste dumped by the factory. So,
Any effect on the atmosphere even today?
no, sir.
Any company spoke about this very
Sorry.
Have you heard about the civil nuclear liability?
No, sir.
Nuclear damage controversy related to the Bhopal gas tragedy. Do you remember anything about that civil nuclear damage?
No, sir.
No? That 1500 crores, any idea?
No.
Complete. Okay. The IBC, you know, right?
Yes.
Insolvency and Bankruptcy Code. Other than IBC, what are the other platforms available with the bank for dispute resolution?
Sir, there are the conventional courts. There's also the SARFAESI.
SARFAESI Act is there.
Yes, sir. And the debt recovery tribunals.
DRTs are there.
Yes, sir.
Then, when these were there, what was the need for IBC?
So there were three issues. One was the timeline of the disputes. These were
Okay.
much longer.
Okay.
Owing to longer timelines, they had to take a huge haircut because when it was resolved, there was practically no value to the assets.
Okay.
And the third issue was that the approach of the DRTs and the SARFAESI and so on was liquidation right away. Here, under insolvency, at least the hope is that the CIRP process, the corporate insolvency process, will succeed and someone can work the company as a workable entity rather than just liquidating the assets.
So, what is the difference between insolvency and bankruptcy?
So, insolvency is for the company, where the company commits a default and it cannot repay its debts. Now, the default limit is 1 crore. Bankruptcy is for an individual.
Thick quotes. What is the difference between operational creditor and financial creditor?
So, operational creditor is someone like a supplier of raw materials, all of the.
So, can operational creditor call for a suit in IBC?
So, the operational creditor under Section 8 can initiate the suit but will not get to sit in the committee of creditors.
Okay. So, he's not been given the same authority as the financial creditor?
Certainly, sir.
But don't you think there is injustice there?
Certainly, sir.
There is injustice.
There is.
Can you tell me, you heard about World Bank Group, right?
Yes.
5 entities together constitute the World Bank Group. Can you name them?
So, there is the International Bank for Reconstruction
And Development, IBRD.
IBRD.
Okay.
There's the International Monetary Fund. No, that's a different.
World
Then I
Bank
can't
is different. In that, one of the institutions out of the 5 is the International Center for Settlement of Investment Disputes.
Yes, sir. Exit. Yes.
Right? And is India a signatory to that?
No, sir.
Why we did not sign?
Sir, so we did not sign because we had apprehensions about investment arbitration, the standards that were being proposed. And being an exit signatory would be tantamount to be in a multilateral investment treaty with all the members of exit.
So, what route India had chosen to obviate this need?
So we have bilateral investment treaties.
Can you tell me the difference between ICJ and ICC?
Yes, sir. So the International Court of Justice and the International Criminal Court at Hague. First difference is ICJ adjudicates over countries and ICC adjudicates over people.
ICJ was in news?
Yes, sir.
What was the issue?
Sir, South Africa's contention that Israel is committing genocide in Palestine.
What was the judgment given by ICJ?
ICJ did not make a factual ruling that genocide was being committed, but it did say that Israel had the onus to ensure that its forces were not committing genocide.
What about money laundering?
Yes.
PMLA?
Yes, sir.
Prevention of Money Laundering Act. Now, the provisions of money laundering have become biggest tools in the hands of Enforcement Directorate. Out of the blue, Enforcement Directorate has become the most powerful now. Earlier, it used to be CBI. Now, you see the government using Enforcement Directorate as its own weapon, right? So, how do you think what provisions in the PMLA have given the right to the Enforcement Directorate? If you can throw light on the 2023 amendments to PMLA.
Sir, I do know the provisions that help. I am not aware whether they are because of the 2023 amendment.
Okay.
But there are multiple provisions. One is that the very definition of money laundering is that it's basically money that is tainted by any underlying criminal transaction. That money becomes laundered money. So the definition is very wide. The second issue is bail provisions. there is a reverse burden in that the accused has to prove that he has not committed an offence before even the charge sheet is filed.
What is it called in legal parlance?
So, reverse onus of proof. Yes, sir.
Can you tell me the 3 stages of money laundering?
So, I cannot name them.
Placement stage, layering stage, integration stage.
Yes.
Which are there?
Yes, sir. I remember the concepts.
Oh, that's it. Can you tell me 2 basic tenets of India's nuclear doctrine?
So, the first tenet is certainly no first use. We don't use it at first.
What does it mean? What is the meaning of the word no first use?
So, this means that India will not threaten the use of nuclear force. It also means that
Against whom?
against any nation with which it has a conflict, particularly the neighbors.
What else?
So, it also means that we will only use nuclear weapons in retaliation to a strike on the.
Recently, one of our home ministers had made a statement that if we have imminent threat of nuclear weapon, we may not follow rigorously the principle of no first use. How does this open up the discussion?
So, for starters, it has some backing in international law. There is something called preemptive self-defense. The US articulates it. That's been its strategy. And there are 2 sides to it. One is that it's very subjective. When is it that somebody thinks it's imminent? It can be premature use as well.
Okay.
But on the other hand, sir, if there is very strong and cogent evidence that it is about to be used, then preemptive strike might be necessary in national security, and it would prevent.
Second principle of our nuclear doctrine.
So the second principle, I believe, is that our agreements will only be about civil nuclear and
Credible minimum deterrence.
Okay, yes.
Credible minimum deterrence. You remember when Vajpayee made a statement in the House of the Parliament. I can sustain 1 or 2 nuclear attacks, but I'll ensure that Pakistan is removed from the world. On what ground of nuclear doctrine he was talking about? Disproportionate damage. That was the. Can you tell me, when you do any legal agreements, we generally add a term related to force majeure.
Yes.
What does that mean?
So force majeure typically will be defined in the agreement, but it covers many circumstances where the agreement cannot be performed owing to an unnatural or a very extreme set of circumstances. So floods, earthquakes, calamities.
Who becomes responsible in that scenario?
So whoever could not perform the agreement is not responsible for non-performance.
Okay. One last question. You heard about nuclear trial?
Yes, sir.
What is nuclear trial?
So nuclear trial is
Triad. TRIAD. No. Check. Thank you.
Okay, Ishan.
So the Ken-Betwa link project is an attempt to interlink these rivers in order to provide all year long. Because rivers in Madhya Pradesh are mostly seasonal, or the volume is not the same throughout the year. So to provide for more water volumes across the year.
And, which areas will get advantage of this process? Districts.
No, sir. No, sir.
Okay. And do you know about the antecedent rivers?
No, sir.
Okay, why most of rivers are flowing eastern towards eastern Ghats?
So the structure of the peninsular plateau is such that the elevation is mostly from the west to the east all the way almost up until the Western Ghats, which is where the elevation changes, and it's from the from the west, from the east to the west. Where there's a highland, there's a water divide down south around the Nilgiris, and from both sides the land slopes downwards. Most of the land is elevated at the west, and then it dips down towards the east.
Can you let me know the reason of the Western Ghat is higher than Eastern?
So multiple reasons, but main reason is the erosion activity of the rivers. So multiple rivers cut through the Eastern Ghats, which is where they're discontinuous, and they are also lower.
Do you know about the proto-continent?
So Gondwana and Pangaea, is it?
Proto-continents,
Not sure, sir.
not supercontinent.
So supercontinent was Pangaea, and then it was broken down into Angora and Gondwana land.
Okay, and Rodina, what is Rodina?
Sure. From what
You heard
I've
about this word, Rodina?
heard about it, sir.
Okay, so
But I think it's what Australia and those areas together were called. Not sure, sir.
and you read today's newspaper?
Very briefly, sir. Had to.
Okay, yesterday.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so recently was in news screen time for children. What is this screen time for children?
So, screen time for children. Recent estimates say that it has really gone up, and I believe there's quite a few studies on this as well. There are very detrimental impacts of increased screen time. Their attention spans are lower. They're not playing outside. Their physical health is deteriorating. They're also showing addiction-related behaviors. They're not able to leave their phones, and so that I believe.
Okay, and delta and estuaries, you heard about delta.
Yes.
What is the difference between them?
So the delta, first thing is that the delta is a wide mouth of the river into the sea. The estuary is narrower. The second thing is that the delta will see extensive sediment deposits, while the estuaries will not see that kind of deposits. So that is the primary difference. Ecologically also, so the delta creates lot of very fertile land of deposit. It's there on the eastern side, sir.
Okay, and my second last question is, can you let me know about the Narmada human? You heard about this word Narmada human?
No, sir.
No. Okay. Homo erectus? You heard about Homo erectus?
Yes, sir.
Who was?
So Homo erectus was a antecedent species that existed. We have Homo sapiens, but for all of these antecedent species, there are components in our DNA that reflect that strain as well. So Neanderthal DNA, for instance.
Okay, my last question is Bhimbetka is near to you. Okay, sir. So, can you let me know the painting of Bhimbetka? Yeah, something tell me about this.
Yes, sir. So it's a UNESCO World Heritage Site, very close to Bhopal. And what is truly fascinating is that it shows layers of history. So we have Paleolithic, Mesolithic, Neolithic paintings, and very vividly they've captured the kind of life that existed in the Stone Age. There are paintings of people celebrating, dances, hunts are very common. There's a wall that's one of the paintings it's called something as well. It's about the animals that were prevalent at the time. So it is of stick figures. It has vegetable dyes, red, orange, blue, these colors, and they've sunk into the wall through diffusion, and they've been preserved over the years as well.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, sir. Okay, I thought. Oh, my
Are
apologies.
you ready?
Certainly, sir.
When is Hindi Diwas celebrated? Hindi is your favorite.
Yes, sir. Yes.
What is the difference between Rashtrabhasha, Rajabhasha, Kshetriya Bhasha, and Boli?
So Bole is the dialect in which people communicate. Kshetriya Bhasha would be a regional language which is prevalent in the people for a given region. Between Rashtra Bhasha and Rajya Bhasha is the national endorsement of a language as being the official language, and we don't have a national language in that sense. Rashtra Bhasha has more emotional and sociological connotations in how do we define ourselves.
Where do these terms find mention in the Constitution? Hindi, Rashtra Bhasha, Rajya Bhasha?
So there's Schedule 8 that gives the list of languages. There are also provisions that deal with what will be the language of communications with the states within the union. So if it's English, English plus Hindi, and there's also some provisions.
My specific question is, where does Hindi find mention in the Constitution? Except 8th schedule.
Sir, I cannot pinpoint that.
Okay. We have you heard of Ka Kshetra, Kha Kshetra, Ga Kshetra in Hindi language for the Rajbhasha or for usage of Hindi in government?
No, sir.
It's fine. What do you think that why Hindi has not been implemented in the whole of country, although it's Rajbhasha?
Sir, I think the primary reason is that Hindi is spoken by 40% of the population, whereas 60% of the population is states of the south and states of northeast, where Hindi is not spoken. So there were concerns about linguistic.
South Indian states have got 60% of the population.
Sir, the southern states and the northeastern states, primarily, sir.
Okay, please go ahead. You were saying something.
So I was only saying that there were concerns of linguistic imposition, in that these states felt that their linguistic identity would get eroded if they were forced to converse in or for all the state communication for it to be in Hindi.
So shouldn't the government bring out some legislation on this, that it is implemented throughout the whole country, instead of leaving it to the people to decide?
Sir, I think it would not be perhaps the right time to do it, because I think it's a very culturally sensitive issue, and it was imposing a uniform language in the reality where people don't normally converse in many parts of the country in Hindi. That would not be seen as something. It would be seen as imposition, linguistic imposition.
Is it not happening the national progress?
Sir, I do believe that at least for the state departments, English is a language. However, certainly, sir, when it comes to departments and their interface with the people and so on, especially the judiciary, for instance, the recourse of English means that the laws are inaccessible to the
You have
people.
brought forth a relevant point, that is judiciary. I mean, supposing somebody from North India is posted as a High Court judge in Chennai, and then some appeal of criminal case is there, so he will get all the documents in Tamil. And in a criminal case, one wrong interpretation of a word can lead to a lot of problems. So then in that case, why we should not have one national language, which is there throughout the whole of country?
Sir,
Otherwise, even in the case of judges, transfer from one high court to another, is he supposed to be learning all the languages where he goes?
Sir, unfortunately, as things stand, that language is English. We do have it in state communications and state to center communications. The problem with that language is that it alienates the people, because people don't speak English, and it means that lots of people cannot access the laws, cannot access either the content of the law or content of policy and so on. With the new education policies, one hopes that we can find some sort of dispersion of Hindi, and perhaps also dispersion of regional languages in the Hindi heartland. So that is being encouraged. Sir.
Why do lawyers wear black coats? Is there any reason? Why can't you wear any color coat when you go to the court?
Discipline and judicial discipline.
But why? Why they chose black color?
Sir, I'm not sure. Some common law.
Black color is a color of power and authority. It basically signifies non-submission to any authority.
Yes, sir.
Yep.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, sir.
interview part is over. Now we'll discuss.
Okay, sir.
After math, okay?
You want
Well,
to?
Yes,
हाँ,
sir.
will. Fun. बेटा उधर रखा था ना पीछे देखो.
You will take this one.
No worries. We'll give him a white paper. He can.
Okay.
Bola, ma'am, can we have the clipboard and pen? White clipboard and pen.
You can use it.
There is a date of April. So it was a lot of time you have now. And who taught you to wear your tie like this?
I keep getting this. My father taught me, but it appears to be.
This one thing he taught you wrong.
Yes, yes.
The size and length and
Size and
length of the tie.
I think we need to do some work on this, or maybe take help from somebody.
economy ये सर यही दे दो आप.
You take this.
Yeah.
Sir,
Some pages. This is the last one. I just take pages.
मुझे तो देखने के लिए चाहिए ना सर. Take this.
क्या रखा था पीछे देखो.
Okay, so that is one part. Second thing is that in between somewhere you said, okay, right, sir. Okay word please avoid. That is one. Second thing is that we did not ask you a lot of questions on Hindi because your gap is very strong on the law side. So that's why everybody was, concentrating upon law. But if the interview board is smart enough, maybe they will avoid asking any question on law.
For all 5, asking only on law. That is also possible.
Yes. Or they will just go deeper and deeper into law. So just be prepared. Both the scenario is possible.
Yes.
Next point is that, say, law point you know. Like say I asked you some questions on arbitration and all that, about international arbitration. You know the answer. But when you are giving the answer, I feel as if you don't have that 100% confidence while answering it. When you know the answer, say it emphatically with 100% confidence.
Okay, sir.
Otherwise, I get the feeling that, he is wavering here and there. He is not sure what he is talking.
Yes, sir.
Okay? So just take care of that. You know the answer. Say it with full confidence. Right? Third thing is that yesterday, did you read the newspaper?
Yes, sir. Glanced through it.
So when that issue which came up, which he asked you about screen time, I could clearly get the impression that you had not read it. You started off and then you started thinking that this also, this also, this also, this also.
Yes, sir.
Right? So you manufactured it.
Yes, sir.
Am I correct?
Yes, sir.
Now this is
because the question was more generally, what do you think about?
No, Mr. Ishan, hold on. So if I have been able to read it, so when you are manufacturing it, manufacture it with full confidence.
Okay. Yes.
Right? Let others not read it. That you are just now making up, one point of the next lead, third lead, fourth lead, so you are going on. Now that does not give good impression when you say that, yes, I have read the newspaper yesterday, I have read this news, and then you give this impression that, okay, I'm doing something like this. Okay? Even if you are doing it, do it with park yourself on that chair. You are in a hurry, so he also in a hurry said, please sit.
Secondly, okay को बंद करना पड़ेगा.
Okay.
Try to change that
So-
habit. Okay.
So hold on for a second. If nobody asks you to sit, maybe they are deliberately waiting for you to respond. Then you say, sir, may I take my seat? So they will say it's okay, fine. Okay. So there is that normal etiquette which we have to follow.
Secondly, this is my personal observation. I may be right or wrong. I don't know. Sometimes you became informal. You were trying to become informal with us
Yes, while communication.
while communication. You know, there has to be a gap. You can't take the liberty to be informal in communication.
Yes.
Maybe it was by chance, or you have to be conscious about that.
Yes.
Like screen time for children. This is said like that you are manufacturing. तो उसे बना रहे थे because this news was related to परीक्षा पे चर्चा प्राइम मिनिस्टर.
Okay.
इस पर उन्होंने ये न्यूज आई हुई थी और आप स्क्रीन पे वो स्क्रीन वर्ड सुनते ही आपने टैब मोबाइल आ गया साथ में आपके. ये थोड़ा सा ठीक है. हाँ, परीक्षा पे चर्चा मोदी जी every before
Yes,
exam.
sir. Exam warriors.
So this is the exactly news was.
But I have not read the news.
Yes.
But while observing it, I knew that manufacturing is going on in his head. You know how to answer it.
And keen and you are from so MP, so keen Betwa link project you should know, because I think I observe you are you have a knowledge in law other than I think उसमें ज़्यादा है आपका, बाकी में बहुत कम है. So you should है ना. So and next point Keen Betwa link, so that's why you have to know the name of the districts through which it. So that is because the Bundelkhand area also is important for, because this is going to be done for Bundelkhand.
Yes, sir. That much I knew that.
So you know very well that areas, and
Not the district names.
antecedent rivers you don't know.
Yes, sir.
So antecedent rivers, because you are from Bhopal, so you know very well. So monsoon rivers and perennial rivers, antecedent rivers, they could ask about this.
Yes.
Antecedent rivers जो आपकी जो origin होती है वहाँ से ये glaciers, and they never कह सकते हैं change the route. That kind of rivers are called antecedent rivers. And so इससे थोड़ा सा न्यूज पर जो चीज आती है उसी को बताओ, बाकी गेस नहीं करना है. Guess very bad things. Okay.
You have anything to say?
You want to ask anything else from us?
Sir, one thing is that it inevitably happens. So, for instance, there were tax. You had questions on tax. Tax is not something I understand too well. There's inevitably always areas, questions on defense. So some of them I should have known. But when there are a series of questions that you can't answer, then what should be the strategy to?
No mind. Never mind. Trust me. See, it's a personality test at the end of the day. How you not knowing is sinking your confidence is also being tested. It should not. See, if you ask me two things, maybe I don't know what to do. But that will not belittle my confidence in life.
So it's the same. Nuclear triad नहीं पता है. Nuclear liability, but see, if you have reached the interview stage, these are very basic concepts of defense, internal security, or international relations for that matter.
All these will be part of also general studies.
Syllabus.
You must have read in economics.
I'm not asking anything out of the blue to you. I know a very simple questionnaire for you, trust me. But somewhere I felt you're not there. You probably relied more upon your legal. इसलिए then I asked you that ICDICS, फिर उससे बात हुई, फिर then I took you to the civil nuclear liability, वहाँ पे also you couldn't. So then I was forced to ask what is force majeure. ठीक है. So थोड़ा अच्छे से आप इसको your dates have not yet come, right?
जैसे सर ने बोला ना, या तो आपकी बहुत ज्यादा क्वेश्चन लॉ से हो सकती है तो बिल्कुल नहीं
नहीं हो सकता।
और आप लॉ में आप स्ट्रांग हो, बाकी चीजें मुझे उतना नहीं लगा कि आप स्ट्रांग हो, कहीं ना कहीं आप बीच बीच में
तो अभी टाइम है, I mean, you can make it.
I suggest you go through the basic books on internal security. या 10 दिन में हो जाएगा अगर करेंगे तो। It should not happen you are found wanting on basic dimensions.
Yeah, I mean, जैसे इनका है इकोनॉमिक्स का है, मेजर इकोनॉमिक टर्म्स क्या है, हाउ इट इम्पैक्ट्स द इकोनॉमी, हाउ डज इट ऑपरेट, द रीजन फॉर इट, इंटरनेशनल रिलेशंस है, मध्य प्रदेश का ज्योग्राफी, हिस्ट्री, इकोनॉमी, बेसिक फैक्ट्स एंड थिंग्स लाइक दिस, मेजर गवर्नमेंट प्रोजेक्ट्स, आयुष्मान भारत है या ये सब, वो प्रधानमंत्री आवास योजना है या इस तरीके जो भी है, आंगनबाड़ी सिस्टम है, you know, so all these things, basic 2-3 points for everything you should be having. Okay, Anganwadi system 1, 2, 3. Right.
Yes.
Ken Baker project 1, 2, 3. Bhopal that lake 1, 2, 3. You know.
Yes.
So if you get time, you can expand on that. If you don't get time, just be there.
Yes.
Every time here, you can just start doing it.
I have a suggestion for you. Last 1.5 year, Hindu paper Sunday FAQ का कॉलम आता है, FAQ एक बार पलट दो सब हो जाएगा। Hindu paper FAQ, if time permits, explain the column of Indian Express. If doesn't permit, leave it. FAQs of Hindu is a must read. All international, national issues, social issues, legal issues.
Yes.